Have you ever felt like, man, I just can't get ahead in life? Like no matter what, I'm always behind on my bills. I can't make the payments. I feel like I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm tired of living this way. I know this is what I experienced in my early to mid 20s, and I was sick of it. I was so sick of it because I had seen so many people live their lives, although I was still very young at the time. I had seen these people live their lives like this all the way up into their 60s, 70s, and 80s. I just talked with a lady this weekend who, the only income that she has is Social Security. And that makes me sad. And it kind of makes me mad because it's like, man, we didn't do a good job of taking care of our folks, of teaching them financial literacy. And so if you're listening to this, take heed, listen, do what I'm about to tell you, because there's going to come a time where it's going to be even worse than it is today. I know you feel real stressed out today, but it potentially could get even worse. But there's steps that you can take to get on the right track and change the trajectory for you, and then change the trajectory for your family tree so you can pass the education that you're about to learn on, so that the ones who come behind you, they know how to handle their finances. They know what they need to do to make sure that they're in a good position and they can keep passing this financial literacy down. So I came out of college with $60-something thousand in student loan debt. I don't remember the exact amount. I probably need to go back and look at it so I can tell the story better. Somewhere around $60,000. And then I got a truck, which was $25,000. So that puts me at what? $90,000. And I had a wedding ring. It was like $2,500. So somewhere a little over 90. Then we ran up some credit card debt. So we were over $100,000 by the time my wife and I got married. $100,000 in debt. And we were married I was 23. She was 22. Can you believe that? Over $100,000 in debt. It is just insane when I look back. And, we lived with it for a little while. We barely could make ends meet month to month, coming out of college, making a starter salary. Our rent, we had moved to West Palm Beach for this job I'd taken in pharmaceutical sales and was not making much money at all as a startup. And our rent was like $1,800 a month in West Palm for this little apartment. Crazy. Just insane. And we're just like taking step backwards. That's all I felt was like, man, I am moving backwards here. This isn't cool. And I was at least smart enough to say, okay, something's got to change. And it was interesting. We were at a church service and it was this big church in West Palm Beach. Can't remember the name of it, but that next Sunday they were having this guy named Dave Ramsey come speak. Okay. I didn't really know who he was at the time. I was so young, but I was like, oh, let's go hear him. He talks about money. And Dave spoke, and then he talked about his Financial Peace University. And we at some point made it through his $70 program. I'm sure it's going up now, and I'm going to pretty much teach you what he teaches here in a second with some caveats, a few differences. But it really helped us start the journey of getting out of debt. And I don't agree with everything Dave Ramsey says to this day. He's actually got me blocked on Instagram. I guess I had said something that I didn't agree with him at one point. So now I can't even conversate with the man. But he's great at getting people out of debt. And so it was fantastic for us, and not just getting people out of debt, but also setting up their, getting their financial house in order, the foundation in order, so then we can build upon it. And we really took it to heart, and we started running with cleaning our finances up and building a strong foundation. And so here's what my wife and I did, okay? We had over $100,000 in debt. We were 23 and 22 years old. First thing we did is we made a budget, okay? I always say a budget is the heartbeat of personal finances. If you don't have a budget, you don't know what money's coming in, and you don't know what money's going out. You have an idea. Oh yeah, I think we're spending about this much, that much. But until you do a budget, you don't know for sure. I promise you, you have money leaking out that you don't even realize is leaking out. You were spending a ridiculous amount on something that you don't know you were spending a ridiculous amount on. And so I would encourage you, the budget app that I use is called the Every Dollar Budget. It's free. I don't care what budget template you get. But you have to go get a budget template, okay? Or an app, whatever. And you want to put in every dime that you're making, okay? Your W-2 job, your side gig, real estate, you name it. Anything that you're bringing in, okay, to your personal bank account. And then you're going to write down every single penny that is going out. So from your bills, all your housing, all your transportation, your gas, your insurances, your taxes, your food, your fun, everything. Okay. And this budget isn't meant to keep you from spending any money at all. That's not what it's for. Now we'll talk about that here in a second if you got a spending problem, but a budget is there for you to just know, oh, wow, I'm spending $800 a month on food. I thought I was spending $300 a month on food. These restaurants are really adding up. We need to set, right, a correct amount based on our income, based on what we have coming in. But it just opens your eyes. To this day, I'll do it every month. And like, I'll cringe because I spent more last month on something that I meant to. And so then I'll like trim it down, or there may be something we know that we have a wedding coming up or a trip coming up, and you can plan for the trip, right? So you can budget in advance, start putting stuff aside in a separate account, but it just allows you to measure, okay, where your money is coming from and where your money is going, because what gets measured gets managed. And so we have to know what is going on in our finances. So you got to start with a budget. Okay. Second thing you're going to do if you're struggling in the financial space, building that financial foundation, is you're going to need to decrease your expenses. So once we've got that budget, we can create the budget and we'll go off the last 3 months and we'll look and say, okay, this is what we've spent. These are our averages. What can we decrease, right? We got to keep the 4 walls around our house. We got to have transportation. We got to have food and water. Outside of that, what can I cut? If you're in a bad financial spot, this is what you need to be doing. What can I cut? I got my house, I got my water, I got my food, and we can drive. Outside of that, cut it. Stop going to the movies, right? Stop spending the money on the subscriptions. Stop going out to eat 5 nights a week. Now, if you have money and you're doing good, by all means, go live it up. I eat out all the time. I spend a lot of money eating out because I enjoy it. I also make a lot of freaking money, and I have a lot of assets that are paying me outside of the money that's coming in from my active income. But when I was going through the trenches, where some of you are who are listening to this, my wife and I ate out 1 time a week, and it was at lunch after church on Sundays. 1 time a week. And even then it was tight, right? Eating out may not be your struggle. Maybe you have a $50,000 car and you're making $60,000 a year. You got your jacked up truck and you're making $70,000 a year, but that truck costs you $55,000 and you have $700 to $1,000 in a car payment. Sell the freaking truck. What are you doing? You're paying $700 to $1,000. Do you hear that? Do you hear that? $700 to $1,000 a month to drive from point A to point B. That is ridiculous. I'm wealthier than a lot of folks probably listening to this. And I hate to say that because it sounds like a punk statement to say, but I look at statistics and I look at where we're at, how much money we bring in and our net worth compared to the average American, and we're doing pretty darn good. And I have yet to buy a car over $35,000, and I pay for those suckers in cash. Now, understand, everybody can't pay for cars in cash. I'm not telling you to do that. But I'm saying to this day, I can be on big baller status. $35,000, and that was my wife's Toyota Highlander. That was 2 years old at the time we bought it, and I bought my truck, F-150. It was 2 years old at the time I bought it for $30,000. And you're out here making $60,000 a year buying a $55,000 jacked up truck. For what? For what? So you can look cool? Great. You can look cool all you want, but while you're working at 40, 50, 60, 70, everybody else who takes the advice that I'm giving and builds this foundation now, this financial foundation now, they're going to be the ones chilling. I can't talk here in a couple years, driving whatever they want, be rolling in the Bentley if they want to in 20 years. Not some jacked up truck that you can't really afford. All right, I'm off that soapbox, but go sell the dang vehicle. If you got a vehicle payment, you're living paycheck to paycheck right now, and you don't have any money to invest, get off of this podcast right now and go sell your vehicle. Now, go get it. Go get rid of it. If you have an expensive vehicle, that is not coherent with your income and it is eating up your monthly income off of the bills that it's costing you, go sell it and go buy you a beater for $5,000 to $8,000, okay? And drop your payment down to $200 to $300 a month and give yourself some breathing room. Do you understand? If you do that, you're going to give yourself $400 to $800 extra a month. Do you understand what happens to that if you keep doing that every month, and you do the right thing with that extra money? I'll show you here in a second. It's going to start allowing you to climb out of this hole you feel like you're in. But you got the vehicles, get rid of them. You got a boat payment and you're broke. You're living paycheck to paycheck. Sell the boat. You got one of those Ranger and Polarises and you got a note on it and you can't afford it. Sell it. You got a house right now that's 50% of your income. Why? Why'd you do that to yourself? Why did you buy a house that is costing half of the income you're making? You are what we call house poor. Do you like being house poor? You don't like being house poor. You hate being house poor. Being house poor sucks because you thought it was cool. Oh yeah, my friends are gonna like this. Hey, I got my house, baby. I'm a big dog now. Come check my house out. Oh, I got me a little acreage. Oh, I live in Nocatee. I live in blah, 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 whatever the little big baller place is in your area. Guess what? You're broke. You got no money. You can't do anything else. If you want to do anything else, you're putting it on a credit card because you got no money. Am I right? Sorry, I'm going in on y'all today. It's because I love you. You got no money. Sell the darn house and buy something in your price range. I have hundreds of thousands of dollars that come in to our account per year. And my home, so that's my mortgage, insurance, taxes, and other things that go on with my home are less than 25% of my income. Less than 25%. Please, guys, I know I was giving you a hard time. Please don't be house poor. Please, please, please don't be house poor. Because you are missing, if your house, your mortgage is at 50% of your income, and it should be at 25. Number one, you just feel broke. You do feel house poor. But if you could knock that down, if you could sell that house and move to another one and have your house payment at 25%, that gives you 25% of your income back. Imagine investing that 25% of the income that you're paying in a house right now, investing that into income producing assets. What if we took that and we bought rental properties? What does your life look like 3, 4, 5 years from now? You know that baller house you think you have? You could probably double it and have your assets pay for it. But you're jumping the gun. You're going too early. You're giving in to the Joneses, the status quo. Get rid of it. Well, my wife likes this. It could be hard to move my kids. Look, kids are resilient. You can move your kids. They'll be fine, right? If your spouse, wife, or husband isn't on board, we got a bigger problem. We have got to get them on board. You have got to expose them to podcasts that talk about this, to YouTube videos that talk about this, to seminars that talk about this. You got to do it the right way. You got to do it with love. But they have to be able to see the light. And oftentimes you can't do that because they're just going to get frustrated at you. And so you've got to be able to put them in an environment where they can hear it from someone else. Maybe not. Like if you got a great spouse, they'll hear you out. But so many people, it's a sensitive topic and they'll get mad. No, I'm not getting rid of my boat. No, this is my truck. I'm not getting rid of my truck. Right. And so this is a whole different subject. Maybe I'll do a podcast on handling your spouse when it comes to money. But we've got to get them on board, but we've got to cut these expenses, guys. It is so worth it because it frees up a lot of money to then allow you, once we cut these expenses, it gives us this breathing room, okay? So now we've got money coming in that we didn't have before. right? Because our car payment was $1,000. We sold it and we bought a beater, and now our car payment's $300. And so now we have $700 extra a month. And then we cut our restaurant and blah, blah, blah. And we got $300 back from that. And so between our car payment that we've lowered and the extra money we got back from not eating out, we now have $1,000 extra per month to work with. So what are we going to do with that? Do I just go invest it? Heck no, you're not ready to invest yet. You're in a bad financial shape. Now, if you don't have debt, right? If you don't have any consumer debt, no bad debt at all. I'm not talking about your mortgage. I'm probably not even talking about your vehicle if it's a low interest rate. That's a debatable topic. But credit card debt, student loan debt, bad debt, right? If you don't have that, then you're going to take this money that you have left over and you're going to build up a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. And then once you have that 3 to 6 month emergency fund, then we can start investing. But for those of you who still have consumer debt, we're going to take this extra money, okay, and we're going to pay off all of our debt. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to be strategic about it. Okay, write this down. This is going to be our plan. So it's called the debt snowball. You're going to take all that extra money per month, that $1,000 per month, and you are going to pay off your smallest debt first. Okay, so let's say you got 3 different debts, one at $2,000, one at $3,000, one at $4,000. You're going to pay the minimum payment on the debt that's $3,000 and the minimum payment on the debt that's $4,000, whatever the minimum payment per month is. And then we're going to sink the rest of that $1,000 at that $2,000 debt. Guess what? That $2,000 debt is probably going to be paid off in 3 to 4 months. Okay, 3 to 4 months after we pay the minimum to the other two, and then we pay off that first one, right? So it's gone in 3 to 4 months. Well, that debt, it was $2,000, and let's say the payment on that was $300 a month, right? Well, now we don't have to pay that payment anymore. We've got $300 extra a month from that debt. So we got our $700 from paying off our cars. We got the original $300 from paying off, the restaurants, or not going to restaurants anymore, and then we just got $300 more from paying off this small debt. So now we have $1,300 a month to attack this next debt. So we got the $2,000 debt out of the way. Okay, it's gone. Now we got our $3K debt. We got to get rid of it. We're still going to pay the minimum payment on that $4,000 debt, but now we're going to take that $1,300 or a little bit less after paying the minimum on the $4,000 debt, and we're going to sink it all into the $3,000 debt. And guess what's going to happen after 3 months? You're going to have $3,000 gone. Debt's gone. And now we're going to open up another $400 from that payment that is going to our pocket. So now we're at $1,700 extra per month, and we have a $4,000 debt left. Okay. That's going to take us a little over 2 months to pay that off. And now our $4,000 debt is gone. And now, boom. After 8.5, 9 months, not even a year, you've just paid off $9,000 in debt by following a simple strategic formula. Do you guys see how easy that is? Right? You just have to have this plan. You got to start with the budget. We got to cut those expenses as much as we have. And then if we have that debt, we're going to pay that puppy off using the debt snowball. And then we're going to be sitting pretty. Now, you may say, well, I have $20,000 in debt in one debt. I have $30,000 in another, and I have $60,000 in another. Great. We're going to do this same exact thing. It's just going to extend our time. We're still going to sit there, and we're going to start with the smallest, get it paid off. Then we're going to go to the next one. Then we're going to go to the next one. It'll take longer. But this is where increasing your income comes into play. Okay, so we have these bigger debts and we want to expedite the process. Well, you can whine about it and say, oh, this is just going to take me too long, right? Or you can say, all right, what can I do to expedite this process? You can increase your income. Income is the fuel that propels your growth to wealth. Like it expedites the wealth growing process, right? How much money you have decides how fast you move on this journey. And so whatever you're doing right now, what else can you do? Can you take on more at your current job? Can you get a promotion? Can you do what side gig are you going to do outside of work? I have had a side gig my entire life to this day. With every W-2 job I have, I've done something else on the side. I had a pressure washing business. I have signed up for Uber. I've delivered fruit. I've done real estate. I've done Finance Cowboy. I have gone and taken pictures on end caps at like CVS for Google to prove that products were there. You name it, I've done it. Why? Because I knew that if I wanted to expedite my journey, I had to find a way to make extra income. Stop saying you can't. There's got to be some sacrifice somewhere to get you out of the bonehead decisions that you've made previously. And so choose, what is it going to be? Is your wife not working right now? Is your husband not working right now? Get them in the workforce. If they can go work and daycare costs this much and wife can go work for this much and there's a $500, a week spread or $300 a week spread, go do it. Pay the price now. Sacrifice now. Pay now, play later. Or you can play now and you can pay later. Whatever route you have to go, increase that income. There's so many ways that you can do it. If you tell me you can't, then I don't feel confident that you're ever going to be successful, because this is a place where you can go make extra money. There's so many opportunities. You can do it from your computer nowadays. You can do it from your computer. So many opportunities. So go get that side gig, increase that income. I mentioned this. Once we got that done, we want to, and our debt paid off, we want to have an emergency fund. And somewhere between 3-6 months, some people like to keep a year if they're really conservative, but we want to have a rainy day fund. Should something break, should we lose our job, whatever the case may be, have that emergency fund in place, just sitting in a regular old savings account. And once we have that, it's time to invest. Okay. Now I will say what I just went over outside of the investing, it can be a journey depending on where you're at. For me, was a 5-year journey. Started in 2013, didn't get all my debt paid off until 2018. Did not start investing in 2018. So many of you guys hear my podcast, you see me on social media, and oh, it must be nice. This guy's crushing it. Nope, yep, I am now, but for a long time I was in the trenches. 5 years. 5 years. I should have documented my journey on Instagram then. Wouldn't have been as popular because nobody likes to see the trenches. But when you weren't seeing my face every day, 5 years doing everything I just spelled out to you. Everything that I just spelled out to you was done over a 5-year span. That's a long time, but it's called discipline. And I knew what I wanted, and I knew what it was going to take to get there, and I did what had to be done. And God dang it, I look back now, and I'm so freaking glad I did, because then in 2018, we started investing in the greatest asset in the world, which is real estate. And 5 years from that, now it's 2023 at the time of this podcast, our life's changed forever. Our family tree's changed forever. Our children's life has changed forever, as long as they aren't knuckleheads and don't do anything stupid that'll keep them out of the will. And so there's a starting place for everybody. And I spend a lot of my time talking to the folks who are ready to invest. But these are for all you guys who reach out to me and say, I just don't have the money to do it yet. What should I be doing? This is what you should be doing. You should be not doing nothing else. There's literally nothing else you should be doing than what I just talked about on this show. And if you do it and, stay focused, then you will totally change your life and change your family tree. So guys, if you're not in the community yet, text me the word win to 864-660-7148, 864-660-7148. This is going to put you in our text community, where I send you behind the scenes content, where I send you encouraging content, and where we can stay in touch with one another. Thank you all so much for listening. Share this with a friend or two. Take a screenshot of you listening to it. Tag me on Instagram at Finance Cowboy. And I thank you so much for being on this journey, and I will talk to you next time.